like to welcome today with us Manuel Heitor, which is the Director of Technology Policy Lab at the Center for Innovation, Technology and Policy Research. I would say his last engagement, because Manuel has been, of course, also minister, has been professor. He is still professor, because professor is forever, if I would say, otherwise the other professor online could get offended. And today is here with us to basically present or resume what has been the main outcomes analyzed by the working group in their analysis of the current approaches, the instruments, what is working, what is not working, and so on, and the recommendations that they are giving to the future decision makers about the possible ways to approach, the way to fund and stimulate research, innovation, and education at European level. Just a couple of things before starting and giving the word to our guest. Especially for the newcomers to our appointment, I would like to remind you that we are going to have a presentation from our guests that will last 10, 15, 20 minutes according to the need, and then we will give you the possibility to pose questions directly. To basically have the possibility to pose questions, just use the Q&A box that you have under the screen and put your name in the Q&A box. I will give as many possible spaces to the most number of you. So please just reserve your right to pose a question by writing your name in the Q&A box. Remember that you will be given the possibility to open your camera and microphone, so I'm not reading any question. I would like you to directly challenge our guest. So Manuel, welcome again in Interim Brussels office. Everyone in Brussels in this moment is investigating, understanding, reading the rules, looking to the stars, trying to understand what is going to happen, how you have worked, and what are your main outcomes that you are giving in the input of the big debate that is running and will run for the years to come, I suspect, about the next framework program.
Thank you so much, Massimo, for this opportunity, and thank you all, because I'm here particularly to call your activism, because we all in Europe need a collective action, because also we are facing unique opportunities, particularly over the last 2 weeks and after the American elections. We need more and more to say, choose Europe. And for that to happen, we need a collective action in Europe. And our report is essentially one way to wake up call to Europe to guarantee that Europe at large can align the economic, financial, defense, and social policies to have a greater emphasis on research and innovation, to act towards the need for a better centrality of research, technology, and innovation, and to accelerate the institutional and regulatory context for this to happen. Let me make very clear, and Massimo knows it well, I do not represent the European Commission. I share a group of independent people, 15 independent people from North, South, Eastern, Western Europe, from the most various type of institutions, universities, companies, RTOs, and civil organizations. And our report has been a consensus report. It includes 12 main recommendations to the Commission and to certainly the European Parliament for the years to come. Again, I will not read the report, because the most important is the active discussion with you during the days. But let me very, very briefly try to mention 3 main ideas behind this report in the 12 recommendations. First and foremost, we need a strong framework program, and don't take it for granted. Don't take it for granted. Second, we need an adequate budget and a better articulation with national, public, and private investment and research. Third, last but not least, we need a radical simplification together with a few radical innovations in order to guarantee an increased budget. And let me explain you again briefly these three main ideas, essentially to stimulate your own interventions and discussion with you. Why we need a strong framework program, particularly as a game changer in a declining European economy, and also to face the declining European science. When we look at all the indicators at the world level, we need to clearly understand that we are facing new opportunities, but also a number of new challenges. We are not being able in Europe to get the level of investments that either in the United States or China they are getting for research and innovation. China has surpassed the level of investment that Europe has been able to attract for this area. And when we look either in scientific publications, in top journals, or in technology journals, there is a clearly declining in European science. So we need a framework program, which is a comprehensive program as a game changer into this context. And what we are trying to do is to better understand the needs of next generations. How your children, how your grandchildren, and the grandchildren of your children can really have a better future will depend very much on the way we can understand the public and private investments in research and innovation in the years to come. And we know that we have also unique opportunities in Europe. We have attracted more and more immigrants for Europe, and all these contexts also is giving a number of new opportunities. And therefore, the idea of choose Europe is critical because in the last years, most of our countries, particularly large countries in Central and Eastern Europe, has faced what we call a dramatic brain drain, particularly to the United States, and particularly of young adults between 25 and 35 years old that cannot find an adequate career, including a research career in Europe, and have moved to the United States. Let's try to implement serious context to young people to really choose Europe. And we should be proud of the way the framework program has evolved. Actually, some of you, the older ones, may remember 20 years ago when Commissioner Philippe Busquin launched a similar expert group to address, by that time, 20 years ago, the need to attract more youngsters for research. We were losing, by that time, scientists, and we succeeded on doing this. After 20 years, we have attracted the youngsters for research and innovation, for science and technology across all areas of knowledge, from social sciences to medicine, from digital systems to deep tech. And actually now we know that we have in Europe over 2 million officially registered researchers, representing 1% of the European labor force. But at the same time, we have increased the number of researchers, attracting more youngsters, but we have had, in the last 5 years, an increasing in the brain drain of young adults, particularly to the United States. And the lack of research careers should be one of our major concerns. That is the reason why we say a strong framework program is an European program, well articulated with all the member states and European regions, which should be comprehensive, really to face three main objectives, what we call spheres of action: competitive excellence, particularly what the European Research Council, the European Innovation Council, and the Marie Skłodowska actions has been done. Research towards industrial competitiveness, and this should be taken seriously in terms of the way we can more and more enlarge and improve collaborative research. Research towards societal challenge, because we need to understand more and more the differences in the way we should address research and innovation towards those issues, certainly the climate disaster we all face, but also many other issues, including mental loss of young adults, which are strongly affecting our society and are not dealt by the market. Last but not least, the research and innovation ecosystem throughout Europe. And these four spheres of action should be adequately interfaced among them. Certainly, we need more and more fundamental research in disruptive innovation, but we need to understand that the way we foster collaborative research as a unique feature of the framework program should be addressed conveniently. And let's be very clear, in order to guarantee an increase of funding that we all know to needs as a need to better understand the quality of life of European citizens, we need to do dramatic changes also in the way collaborative research has been managed, and we can discuss this further. But apart from a strong framework program, we need an adequate budget. And we have estimated, again, it is in the report, a minimum of 220 billion for the coming 8 years, 2038, 2034, with a stepwise process of changes over the next 2 years, 2025, 26, and 27, including a better governance to eminent practitioners. Actually, in Europe, we have had over the last 15 years a unique experience recognized worldwide of building the European Research Council, in the last 5 years of building the European Innovation Council. So we argue that we need to attract eminent practitioners from science, research, and innovation to govern the program. Those are the people that really understand the key issue. And this needs certainly an adequate budget, better articulated with member states. This is not a new recommendation. We understand that over the last 10 years, we all in Europe developed so-called seals of excellence, so that proposals considered of high quality that have not been able to get European funds can receive other type either of European or national funds. But we recognize that seals of excellence have not been used at all in Europe. So we need really to make that working to better understand the needs to articulate European, national, and regional funding mechanisms. Our third main message is about the European research and innovation ecosystem, which is critical throughout Europe, including those regions which are still in say, a developing stage. And that will require certainly the enlargement and the strengthening of what we consider is the current European network of research infrastructures, as well as developing a new generation of technology infrastructures, particularly to feed up the business sector. And we know that research and technology infrastructures should be certainly aligned with the university system throughout Europe, particularly the strengthening of university alliances. And that will be absolutely critical also in the so-called widening regions or widening countries. And we need to make sure to concentrate emphasis in the instruments that work, for example, the teaming program or the staff exchange in the MSCA, the Madam Curie actions. Certainly, this set of three main messages has been clearly expressed in 12 recommendations. But again, this is just one more instrument, this report, one more step. We will have 2 years of continuous discussion. And don't forget, research and innovation and science in general is a battleground. We are facing a battleground, and we need all of you, and a strong activism to make it happen in years to come and to generate a better future to our new generation for the best of your daughters and sons and your future generations. That the centrality of research and innovation will be absolutely critical to increase the quality of life in Europe and to have a better presence of Europe worldwide. So my main message is to call for your activism. All of us, individually and collectively, play a role in years to come in the discussion at the Commission, at the Parliament, but above all at the Member States. And again, we should be proud of the European project, but we should also understand the complexity of the decision-making process and the way all of us need to participate in that process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Manuel, for this initial warm-up words. We have a total of 317 attendees, so I expect a lot of questions, and I would like to remind you that to reserve your right to pose questions, you have to write your name in the Q&A box. Don't raise your hand because it's difficult to manage the hand raised. Write your name in the Q&A box. Before putting my question on the table, I see that we have online also the Vice Rector for Research and Innovation of NTNU, which is asking to intervene. So I'm very happy and proud to give her the possibility to talk. So we are now giving her the possibility to open the camera and microphone. So Turil, you should be capable to join us in a few seconds. So Professor Turil Hernes, there she is. Turil.
Yes, hello. And congratulations to you, Heitor, for an excellent report. I am so happy that you are with us today. I should actually wanted to join you as well in Brussels, but it was not possible. But anyway, my name is Turil Hernes, and I'm the Vice President of Research and Innovation at the NTNU, Norwegian University of Science and Technology. And I'm also the chair of European University Association's expert group on innovation, and also chair of the Task Force Innovation in CESAR, and also in the board of CESAR. And, you know, we are discussing a lot about both the Draghi and your report as well, and also due to the framework program coming up. And I'm especially, I would like to ask you and also to comment a little bit about the university's role when it comes to innovation, disruptive innovation, and the change and the need that Europe needs. Because sometimes I know that you have already spoken about the talents and so on. But anyway, sometimes I think it's very important to lift up the university's role and what we are actually doing also due to regional, national, and international strength and capacity when it comes to innovation, and also when it comes to building up strong competence in Europe as compared to China and the USA. So could you comment on, especially on the university's role, due to both to the new framework program, but also when it comes to the situation in Europe and how we can contribute? It would be interesting. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Turi.
Turi, thank you so much. First and foremost, to manage the NTU Brussels office and to keep Massim and his team doing such an important work here in Brussels to do a collective voice in Europe. And certainly we all recognize your leadership in this process. It is clear to all of us that universities are key stakeholders. They are not the only one, because actually, ultimately, the goal of universities is to train the labor force. And more and more and more, the openness of universities to the labor force in general and to a diversified set of research and technology organizations and business, small companies, large companies, is absolutely critical, because we are facing an accelerated rate of technical change, and therefore we need more and more a dynamic approach to skills development. And again, we have now new evidence from Europe. For example, just to give you a figure, a large fraction of the startups funded over the last 4 years through the European Innovation Council have derived from fundamental research sponsored by the European Research Council in less than 2 years. And this is a very interesting time to better understand these strong synergies and coupling between fundamental research and disruptive innovation. And it shows that we are essentially facing an accelerated rate of technical change, more accelerated than ever before. And this, again, is very interesting, is very challenging for science policy, including for the instruments we need to have in Europe to really understand this coupling between fundamental science, the generation of new skills, and the radical innovation. This certainly needs many complex instruments, but one is clear: we need in Europe better research careers, also at university. It's not acceptable that excellent people may take more than 15 or 20 years to get the top positions in some universities. And I'm a university professor. I've been also in charge of the government in these areas, and we know the complexity of, first and foremost, to keep university autonomy. Yeah. We should be proud in Europe to have autonomous institutions, but autonomous institutions that really drive important research careers in Europe. That is the reason why in our report we emphasize the key role of the Marie actions. And actually you mentioned CESAR, the recent CESAR survey on research careers 2024 is very much articulated with our report in terms of we need a better co-funding mechanism to facilitate better and faster research careers in Europe, certainly in universities, but also in articulation with RTOs and companies. Thank you so much for remembering us about the key role universities play in a free, autonomous context throughout Europe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Turi, for joining us. I see among the questions also Dimitri Korpakis. So Dimitri has a lot of experience in the European Commission, as he was formerly working into it. So maybe he can give an interesting perspective and a challenging question to you, Manuel. Dimitri, are you accepting? Yeah.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor. I would like first to congratulate Manuel Heitor for a great report. As you said in the beginning, we are all reading this again and again. I would like to raise two questions. The first is how Manuel thinks that we can link better the framework program with the dimension of place in Europe, because we have seen that if we keep disconnected places from technology and innovation developments, because at the moment we spend a lot of money in the framework program, in cohesion policy, also pushing for research and innovation, but we have disconnected channels. And we have seen how much of importance is to have a better integration. And you just have to read the Letta and Draghi reports to be aware about this. So how we are going to link better the framework program with the dimension of place and the place-based innovation. And second, which is, I would say, the elephant in the room, how we can improve the market uptake of results in the medium and the long run of results of the framework program, because up to now, and we are now approaching the 10th edition, I have been working for more than 25 years in the framework program, and I know how difficult it is. But at least we should now be wiser how we can organize better the market uptake of the results of the framework program, because this has to be built in right from the start and not be addressed, in my view, as a later on discussion. Especially now because of the imperatives of times, with the problems that we are facing with the Green Deal, and in front of the new Clean Industrial Deal, how we can achieve these dimensions. Thank you.
Dimitri, thank you so much for this question and for your continuous engagement over the last decades on the framework program. Certainly, you address two very complex questions, and we need to understand that complex issues cannot be simplified, and they require also a complex understanding. So I will give my understanding, but certainly we are facing complex issues. The question of place-based innovation has been critical, but we also need to understand that we have very successful examples throughout Europe. They can always be more, but we should claim of failures, but also understand the successes in many regions throughout Europe. I could give you examples in Portugal, but also in Norway or in Eastern European regions. That is the reason why we call the critical attention to research infrastructures and to the need to develop technology infrastructures throughout Europe, including in the widening region. We know that research infrastructures, which has been a very small part of the program over the last years, and an increasing complexity with two different ways of being approached, should be very much simplified and are very important for place-based innovation, particularly to attract the research community, and need to be complemented with technology infrastructures in time of a rapid technical change, among which digital technologies are and will be more and more important. Certainly, this needs to be more and more articulated with the so-called cohesion funds through the structural funds. And again, the need to address the guarantee to fund seals of excellence, which have not happened, with the notable exception of Malta and Lithuania in Europe, should definitely be addressed towards a better articulation. And that is a complex issue because we know structural funds are managed by the regions, the European regions, very much different from the framework program, and then the national funds have their national entities. And this articulation is a complex issue, and we need more and more articulation. The second question on market take-up has become a critical issue. Again, is not a new issue. We have now more data from the European Research Council and the European Innovation Council, which should be taken as a major concern for Europe when we understand now that in the last 4 years, for example, a large fraction of the patents derived from fundamental research sponsored through the European Research Council has been economically taken up and valorized by large American companies and investment funds, and not in Europe. And the second data from the last scale-up reports is that we should be proud in Europe that in the last 5 years we have created, our universities and our RTOs have created more startups than the United States, but those that have grown has essentially grown in the United States and in association with American investment funds and not in Europe. So in these two sets of data should be understood following the Draghi and the latter message of a better European integration of the European markets. Again, is a complex issue, but is also an issue where, again, the Draghi report deals with 10 different sectors and addresses it, remembering the report published by Fuente Toll, a group of economists in the School of Bocconi and in the Toulouse School of Economics that clearly show us that most of the European and national public investments in Europe over the last 20 years have been concentrated on low and medium technology. And therefore, they raise the question, we may not agree with all their recommendations, but their analysis, their economic analysis is very clear. And they raise the question how to escape the big tech trap. And essentially, this is clearly understood also that we need a better articulation of the European market together with the reorientation of the public funds to high added value systems and technologies to really and effectively escape this mid-tech trap that have been identified in Europe by this group of economists. Now, we cannot ask that everything should be solved by the research and innovation funds, either at European or national level. We need to be very clear. The research funds, we hope to increase, will be difficult, but will never be enough. So we need to complement the science and research and innovation and the research and technology funding and initiatives with innovation procurement. And again, over the last 10 years, there has been a number of studies throughout Europe about this complex issue to better organize innovation procurement. And the point is time to change. It's time to make it happen. Because we know that we need better procurement, which, for instance, in the United States is essentially done through the defense budget, also to the energy, but above all to the defense. And we need to better organize innovation procurement throughout Europe. And that is clearly expressed in our report, just making use of existing data, existing ideas and report, but never implemented throughout Europe. So again, there is a role for the better articulation between the research and innovation funding schemes with national, public, and private, particularly to stimulate private investment. But there is also a need of a better understanding of the need to foster innovation procurement. Actually, when we compare Europe at large with the United States, we see that the public investment in research and innovation is similar. It represents 0.7% of GDP. What is really different is that while in the United States, the business expenditure is about 2.4% of the American GDP, in Europe at large, the business expenditure is only 1.2% of GDP. So is half of the American. And this is clearly in association with the structure of the business sector, of we know in Europe, essentially composed by small and medium companies, and we need to again move towards the understanding that the public investment should more and more support private investment to facilitate scale up, and this can only be done with better instruments for innovation procurement, because it cannot be done just by research or science type of instruments. And this is true in the health sector, it's true in the energy sector, certainly for the climate action, but also for the defense sector. And we need more and more to foster the security of our citizens. And this will definitely depend more and more on research and innovation to be followed up by procurement type of instruments that we have not been able to implement at an European wide in as many reports, and we could include a number of references in our report, because there is knowledge about this, but we need the will to implement innovation procurement as a major way to stimulate the market scale up, or the market take up, as you mentioned. Thank you so much for this question.
Thank you. Before preparing the floor for Ivo Bear from University of Bergen, I also have a question related to what you said, because somehow in the report you are claiming an increase of funding for ERC grants. We were discussing this yesterday, which is a successful instrument, easy to use, and there is the need, of course, to increase the capability to produce more knowledge, to then develop the innovation that Europe needs. But my question is how we can make sure that the industrial system that today is investing half the US will be capable in the future to exploit all the innovation boosts or the knowledge boost that we're going to create in Europe by doubling the funding on ERC. Because otherwise, as we know, most of this knowledge is exploited by our competitors, which are China, which are US, which are more capable to transform knowledge in innovation and products. So we are in a contradiction in terms somehow. We are investing in generating knowledge, new patents and so on, but at the end, the impact can be limited for Europe, because then it's going to be used by our competitors. So how we can make sure that this investment in the ERC can become really a resource for the future competitiveness of Europe? Because this is a contradiction that I think we have.
It is not a contradiction. Are facts, and this is the reality. My point is that these are complex issues that cannot be and will not be solved overnight with a simple measure. So the answer to this is particularly the Draghi report, almost 400 pages. They address essentially 10 different sectors, but there is a clear need of market integration at an European level. Don't forget that in the last reports about the largest companies at the world level, only a few appeared from Europe, and particularly the automobile industry. So we need to really to look carefully at market integration to facilitate a better articulation of companies, which ultimately are those which will be able to acquire and exploit the patents derived from fundamental research. And this is true in the biomedical sector, but also certainly in the energy, in the security, or in the climate area. So we need to look carefully at that. And I will say more and more, we need also to understand the need to better interface the public effort with that from private foundations, which essentially have been run in Europe very much independent of the public sources. So again, this is not an easy task, and market integration has been addressed initially by in the latter report, and that is the focus of the Draghi report, which clearly acknowledges that and provides a number of recommendations in 10 different areas. And essentially, in a very simplified way, we are particularly articulate with them in our report because it's the need to better understand the uptake of high added value technologies and systems. And this will certainly require companies with a size able to make it happen. And again, articulation between the different business sectors in the different countries, moving from national or regional markets to the true European markets will be a process which, again, we need to understand the diversified set of labor and fiscal issues which make Europe very interesting, very unique, with a number of opportunities, but also complex issues which are clearly associated with the fragmentation that you just mentioned, the difference in the fiscal and labor issues. So again, these are complex issues that we need to address, but we need to understand that they will not happen overnight, and we need a stepwise process. And that is the importance, in my view, of a strong framework program that can stimulate actions at national and regional level if the framework program is better and better articulated with structural funds and other European initiatives. But again, market appetite will depend always on the size of the markets and on the need to go beyond national or regional markets fragmentation as currently we live in Europe.
Thank you for this reassuring answer to some extent. I would like to give the word to Ivo Ber, who reserved the right to speak. The Q&A area. Remember, if you wanted to speak with Mr. Heitor, write your name in the Q&A section of this webinar. Please.
Yes, thank you so much, Massimo, and thank you, Manuel, for speaking to us. I have, and thank you as well for your efforts in both the expert report and as well the CISA career survey for researchers. I have two, if I may ask two quite unrelated questions, but both a little bit short. One is that you invite us to become activists and partners in ensuring that the European Framework Program for Research Innovation remains strong and continues to exist, in fact. And I just thought in this context, as we go out and present our arguments, what should those arguments be? Because obviously, I think we are having the discussion will be about budget, and the discussion will be our arguments in comparison to what else there is. So obviously, we will be talking of budgets related to defense, to public health, farmer subsidies and so on. So there's lots of the other sides will have important arguments as well. What should be the academic arguments for increased budgets for European research? That's one question, and the other one is quite different. I already remember when you spoke at the European Research and Innovation Days back in March, you had a kind of, I believe, probably the feeling that the US election might turn out as they turn out. And you said already back then, to some degree, that this also presents an opportunity for the European research area. You mentioned that already in the previous term, that there was a reverse of brain drain to the US that was observable, and that may, in this regard, be important to us as we enter the next period. Do you believe? Were you thinking of should we just rely on a passive process that we will get European talent back or other talent from international talent into Europe, or were you envisioning a more strategic and active approach for European universities, for example, as to approach this the coming 4 or 5 years?
Thank you very much, Yves. I always remember the time we spent in Bergen a few months ago. Two different questions. Actually, to increase budgets, ministers of finance will always ask you which are the radical changes you face. So I'm totally convinced that in order to increase budgets at the level we need in Europe, at the European level, but also at national level, we need really to convince governments, policymakers, that there are changes. One of the changes we really consider or recommend is in the governance of the program, making use of the lessons we today have from DRC and EIC, and therefore to essentially provide the governance to eminent practitioners, scientists, researchers, innovators, which certainly do need to understand the complexity of the research and innovation landscape. Again, the evidence on the need to increase budgets is clear, because when we compare with the United States at large or with China, we have a reduced overall budget. And don't forget that 2023 data show that the overall investment has decreased in Europe facing 2022. And therefore, we definitely to address this. Our report also tried to do a clear recommendation on a better understanding of the benefits of research in the defense and above all security areas, and the need to better understand that science and research is ubiquitous in nature. So we should not try to create artificial groups like the dual-use, because every research either will have impact in the biomedical area, in the quality of life, or in the defense area. And we need to understand the ubiquitous nature of research and innovation. And again, this is a large academic discussion also in Nordic universities. Your second question about the opportunity. I'm really convinced that we face today a unique opportunity in Europe to better attract young adults for research and innovation, and to change the current European brain drain in a brain gain in the coming 5 to 10 years. It will not happen overnight, and it will not happen without better research careers. You are at the University of Bergen. Actually, is one of the few universities we have identified through CESAR with the so-called inverted pyramids, which say more full professors than assistant professors. But we cannot rely anymore in the traditional in the traditional pyramid of university professors and not being adequate conditions to young adults when they are trying to do their research. We need to really understand that we have been able to attract more youngsters for research and innovation throughout Europe over the last 20 years, but the quality of the research work has not been improved at the same pace. And let's face this problem in a very pragmatic way. We have a problem. We have a problem in Europe. And that is the reason why, when we see the data, we have been attracting more youngsters, but losing young adults to the United States. So we have a problem, and we should not hide this problem. And this is part in the university system, part in RTOs, and certainly also in the business sector. And it depends on the need we consider and articulate research careers. The idea of our recommendation, Choose Europe, is that every excellent researcher should have a fast and excellent career in Europe and does not need to go to the United States to find a good career. And we need to make that with a co-funding mechanism. Actually, we have an existing MSCA, the Marie Skłodowska Career Action, already with a co-fund experience. Let's go to enlarge it. Why over the last 5 years, particularly, the Marie Curie actions have decreased in practical terms their budget. We cannot rely on internal conflicts between different director generals in the European administration. And we have a problem. We need to face it. And we know how to do it. We have done it before. So let's go to do it and to really provide in Europe better research careers for young adults, to really guarantee Choose Europe as an European new framework condition to really make Europe the place to do research and innovation.
So research career focus, research career. Thank you, Yves, for your intervention. I would like to give the word to a friend, Eric Fouché from University of Lorraine. So I already introduced you, Eric, and now you are able to put your question to Mr. Heitor.
Thank you very much, Massimo. I don't know whether you can hear me. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
But we hear you.
Okay. No, you already, thank you very much. You already answered part of the questions I had through the question of Massimo as well. So I had 2 points mainly. One point was concerning collaborative research, because you spoke about the importance of collaborative research, but I have difficulties in quite understanding which kind of frame you see for the collaborative research, if we refer to some priorities, strategic priorities we may have, like you mentioned for Draghi report, and maybe because it was not the purpose it was not an element during the work you did, but do you see a link with the competitiveness fund as well for the collaborative research? And my second question is more technical, I would say. For me, it's not clear. You mentioned in your report 2 expert groups, one mainly focusing on competitiveness, one more on societal challenge. Which interaction between the two? Do you think it's completely split, or there is interaction? And is it a tool also to define future collaborative research, which should be maybe more targeted as it is right now? Thank you very much.
Eric, thank you so much for these questions, and it is clear that you have read our reports and the recommendations. Certainly, we all need to understand that the uniqueness of the framework program over the last 40 years has been collaborative research. And the way we should be really very proud of building up a collaborative research context throughout Europe. And that has been only possible due to the impact of the framework. But by being proud, we need also to understand the limitations of this process in the current context. Why? When we try to go deeper into the data, either of the Horizon 2020 post-assessment of the 3 first years of Horizon Europe, we see essentially that about 22% of the budget has been spent in mono-beneficiaries, essentially by funding top scientists through the European Research Council, or entrepreneurs through the European Innovation Council, so 22%. The remaining 78% of the budget in Horizon 2020 and in the first 3 years is very similar, has been spent in collaborative research. The point is that more and more, we see that in average, we have consortium with 11 partners, where each partner receives only 127K per year during, in average, 3 years. So the question we need to understand is this the way to go? And we know that more and more, because of pressures, of social pressures, of political pressures of member states, of national representations, and I've also done that in my previous function as minister, we know that essentially the program has been an excellent tool for foster collaboration, but essentially this way to share the money is probably not the best way to really address industrial competitiveness or key issues in societal challenge. That is the reason why we understand that this distribution of funding should be governed by practitioners. It is not, in my opinion, and I've been doing this in science policy for the last 30 or 40 years, it is not just to hold to governments or to the Commission to say the priorities. Should be those which have the hands-on in the programs that understand that. That is the reason why we need to adopt the lessons learned from DRC and DIC board to really build councils which have eminent practitioners to understand how the funding should be distributed, certainly by collaborative research, because this is a must and is a unique European identity, but probably, particularly in some areas, in different ways, and not just by enlarging the number of partners in each consortium. And again, we need to understand the economic analysis of Fuente et al. In the report I mentioned by the economists from Bocconi to Toulouse, where they clearly show the need to escape from the mid-tech trap, as they call it. And in the Draghi report, this has also been addressed, particularly looking at 10 different potential sectors where high added value products and systems should be considered. And as you know, as you well know, the framework program, when it started in the mid-90s and over a large period, has essentially focused, and we all remember of the brighter run of the SP, was essentially focused on high-tech added value, added value systems and technologies, and not just as a distribution process. So again, we need to understand the compromise. Now, in this issue, you brought a very complex discussion, which is how different is collaborative research to address societal challenges from those associated with industrial competitiveness to face the mid-tech trap. And again, we need to understand history. Societal challenges, as you well know, have been introduced in the European Framework Program about 15 years ago in Horizon 2020. And again, we should be proud of it. By that time, you also may remember, the discussion was that we didn't know very well. No one really knew how to do it. So it was done together between industrial competitiveness and societal challenge. 7 years ago, when the Horizon Europe was designed, a similar discussion happened. And again, it was concluded that not divided one and the other. Our discussion in our group, through a consensus decision, is that it's time to better separate, because we need to focus on clear issues associated with industrial competitiveness, with the business sector, but at the same time, understand that there are other issues which depend on different ways of promoting collaborative research to address societal challenges. And these include clearly the climate disaster we all face, which cannot be done through the same tools to address industrial competitiveness, and among any other issues, for example, mental health, which should be addressed, particularly by the public sector, in a completely different way that the biomedical and pharmaceutical industry is addressing other issues like cancer research. These, again, are not easy ways, but the way to organize collaborative research for societal challenges after these 15 years of making it together with industrial competitiveness, it seems to us that it's time for a wake-up call. And we need to really address a better way to focus collaborative research in emerging societal challenges, different from we govern the need for better collaborative research to face industrial competitiveness. And again, in this area, our recommendations are fully articulated with the Draghi report on the need to make sure that each public investment, European or national, should support the private investments in areas which really bring high added value technologies and systems that create better jobs. And again, this process will involve a governance process that needs to be done by eminent practitioners that seems to us is different from addressing eminent societal challenges, which are not in the marketplace and are not dealt necessarily by the business sector. And for instance, we call for a better articulation with private foundations, which we have spoken with very much, which more and more promote research throughout in Europe in complement to the way we should address the business sector. And again, to make this happen, we need to engage eminent practitioners in the public and private sector to really understand the way to govern this, and not just representatives of national or European funding agencies. Bringing practitioners and school a really research and innovation activism is a very important need in Europe for the years to come. Thank you very much for your question.
Thank you, Manuel. So reinstating expert groups as we had in the past framework program is one of the possible solutions, if I understand correctly your comment. We are unfortunately now running out of time, and I apologize with Edith and Christoph as we will not be able to take their questions. I would like to thank a lot Manuel for his availability in this very interesting and I hope appreciated exchange by all of you. Just a short reminder, next appointment with 1 Hour Europe will be on the 13th of December. Our guest will be Keith Sequeira, the head of unit of the EIC. Maybe we can link what Manuel have said to try to explore what the EIC is considering to do according to even the outcomes that have been presented in the three guiding reports, Letta, Draghi, and Heitor, that are currently representing the baseline for all of our debates. I would like to thank you all for the attendance. I hope you appreciated this appointment and looking forward to meet you in the next one. Thank you again, Manuel, for your participation.